Okay, so as we get ready to start Revit, a couple things we have to get set up. One is figuring out all of your levels. When we build in Revit, the default for your different levels, so first floor starts at 0, second floor starts at 10 feet, third floor at 20 feet. We want to modify this to fit your design and your topography. So we have to look at a couple of things here as we go through. I'm going to send you this document, and this is a PowerPoint. All you have to do is double click and edit the text boxes to make this happen. So some things to look at here. A basic house, your first floor sits a couple feet above the grade. Your garage sits right down on grade. That's a pretty typical layout. If the land's pretty flat, this will work for you. But your house might be a little bit different. So some things to consider. Some of you may want something like a walkout basement. Now this is going to require, if you look at the grading here, you can see how you're built on a hill here. So if you have something like that, that might work for you. So think about if you're going to try to do a walkout basement, what that's going to look like on your piece of topography. Another option might be elevating your first floor up a little bit higher. So those of you on the lake, you might want some nicer views. So maybe you build up a little bit. You'll see this a lot in coastal housing, more for floodplain issues. But in this case, building up that level of the home so you get those better views on your home. Now this is the example we use for the laser cut model. So the first thing you need to look at, and I know some of you haven't seen your house in a little while, but I'm going to send you a PDF copy of your piece of topography so you can look at this. But on this one here, as we look, the topography moves from 300 up to 305 in this corner here. So we have to look at the highest point on grade that the house is going to hit. So it's going to hit above 304. 304.6 would be probably somewhere around here. I'm just going to estimate that. It's a little on the high side, but that's fine. At least we're not cutting into the ground too far. So I'm going to say that my first floor, or my house, is going to touch grade at the highest spot at 304 feet 6 inches. So that's right here in this corner, the highest spot on grade. So you have to look at your topography in order to do this. And then let's go over to CAD here. So looking at that, if this is finished grade here, so this represents the earth. You have a concrete block, foundation wall that's on there. On top of that, you have a treated sill plate. And then on top of that, you have your floor system. So if you think about, if you try to put your house only 1 foot above grade, you have this wooden part of the house here now touching grade, and that would be a problem. So bare minimum, what we want to see, like over on this side, is basically one concrete block showing, which gives you around 2 feet. You could probably squeeze 22 inches or something like that, but basically 2 feet from the level of your first floor down to grade. So you're going to add that 2 feet. So if we go back over to this lot 56 plan, and if we decide that this corner was sitting right at 304 feet 6 inches, I have to add 2 feet to that. So that means my first floor is going to be at 306 6 inches. So I'm going to go back over to the PowerPoint slide now and take a look at what we're setting up here. So this will already be crossed out for you, but the first floor for this home on lot 56 would be 306 6 inches. Now, that's for bare minimum. So we're talking like bare minimum above grade here. If you want something different, like you want that walkout basement or you want that elevated plan, you have to consider how far above the grade you want to place that. Keep in mind that the max building height is 35 feet. So you may have to kind of sketch out what you think that's going to look like. But for this case, the bare minimum height for first floor would be 306 6 inches. If I want that walkout basement, if I want that elevated, I might increase that a little bit to give me a little bit more elevation, so maybe I can see over the lake a little bit nicer if that's your home. Now, from there, we need to figure out where level 2 is. So this is the surface you're walking on up on the second floor. Now, some things to consider there as well. Now, this is only a 1-story structure, but imagine like this was the second floor level up here. you have to add in the floor system to that height. So if I wanted an 8-foot ceiling in my first floor, I have to add an additional foot to get up to that second floor. So looking back at our slide here, in this case for the first floor, I was going to shoot for 9-foot ceilings, and most of you are going for a pretty high-end structure that you're making, so I'd recommend a 9 or 10-foot ceiling down on your first floor. It's going to make that look feel a little bit more grand. But with a 9-foot ceiling, that gets me to here. I need to go up another foot for the actual floor system, so I'm adding 10 feet to go up to level 2. And then you could do another 9-foot ceiling up in the second floor for bedrooms and things. That's fine. I just changed it up a little bit here. I'm going to use an 8-foot ceiling on my second floor. So that means that from level 2 to level 3, that's a 9-foot increase in height. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to send you your topography. So I'll send you a PDF version of your topography. Now you'll just have to kind of figure out, yeah, this is about where my house is going to go. We can tweak this a little bit later, but we want to start in REVIT right around the right height. And then I'm going to send you this this one slide here, this one PowerPoint slide, and all you have to do is click on the text box and put down the numbers. And of course, they're going to be based off of your piece of topography. So looking at this one plan I was in, this was Darren's file. So looking at his file, depending on where his house sits, he's somewhere in between 166 and 168. So, maybe he's at 167 on grade there, and then he's going to add his 2 feet to that, depending on how far he pushed his house left or right. Looking over at Daniel's, he's got a little more flexibility. He's got a pretty big piece of topography here, but he's most likely building somewhere in here in this 300 to 302 range, and that's going to be, he can add 2 feet to, maybe his house hits right at 302. He can add 2 feet to that, or he can make it higher if he wants to have that elevated first floor. So again, I'll ask that you just fill this out, and then you're going to upload this to the assignment in Schoology, so that I can take a look at that, so that we're ready to get into REVIT in the next couple of weeks here once we get some computers. All right, thanks for watching. Send me an email if you're having trouble. Send me this with your topography. I can step you through it. But we got to get a few things laid out this week. Have a good one, guys. Bye.